All right, let's get started. Thanks everybody for coming. This is how to double your production with relationships and exposure. Shelley and I had the honor of teaching this in the Excel series in EXP World in the main auditorium as well. And it went over pretty well, so we just thought we would bring it here to our organization as well. And this is kind of close to us because this is kind of how we built our business, and the people that are on our team kind of will see some things that are very familiar. But this is kind of the insight and the thought to how we did it and how we are still doing it and continuing to evolve it over time. So relationships and exposure is very important to us because when Shelley and I joined together and built a team, I was very much into the exposure part of it. I liked marketing. I liked kind of getting our word out and getting the brand out there. And I was pretty good at that. And Shelley is just amazing at relationships and keeping them going and building business out of relationships. So our combination of that over time has really helped us build our team. We started in 2011 with our team, LePage Johnson Group, and I started in the business in 2006 as a single agent. Shelley started in 2004 up in Maryland. She moved here, I believe, in 2007, and she started a small team in time right around 2011 or 9 or 10. Or she's what was that, Shelley? 2009.
Yeah, I moved here in 2009.
Oh, okay. So, long story short, in 2011, there wasn't much going on in 2010, 11 because of the market. We became friends. We shared a bunch of ideas, and long story short, 2011, we joined forces, created LePage Johnson Group, and started to build a team with our two strengths, which were relationships and exposure. So, Shelley, do you want to go into a little bit about, our journey from 2011 up to 17 when we joined EXP and kind of why we did?
Sure. So we basically, like Craig said, joined forces in 2011, and we were it was funny because both of us had these strengths and we were both trying to do the other one's strength, and we figured out that we could do better if we just stayed in our lane and joined forces and just kind of grow together and build something. So it's worked out really well. Everyone told us it would never work. We should never partner. The worst decision we could ever make. And I understand why, because we've seen a lot of partnerships fail. It takes a ton of respect. But as far as the relationships and how we've gotten where we are, basically, and with exposure, I did a lot of charity work. I love events. I enjoy doing things for other people, and Craig is natured that way too. It's just that he's not as outward with it. So was great to be able to take those things and basically show the world what we were doing, rather than me just doing it and only maybe 10 people knowing what I'm doing. Now thousands of people would know. And then he, of course, supported me in my effort with the relationships and exposure, and was all in on charity and doing the events. And he's always really, really a team player with me and some of my crazy ideas. So what we've done basically is we just created systems around those events so that we could duplicate them and not have to think about them every year. And every year we have a calendar full of the events we're going to do, and then basically we just put them on. So it's become easier over time, just because we're able to scale more with the team and helping each other. So that's been more fun, and I love the team being a part of our events and inviting their sphere, because now they don't have to think about what they're going to do for their client. It's pretty much done for them on the team, and then they get the gratification of being able to bring their folks to our events and be able to say, look what we do. So it's pretty cool. We did move in 2017, and we actually got a small space, and we use that sometimes for client appreciation and stuff as well.
Yep, you'll see a lot of that in the upcoming slides. And one quick note how EXP really helped us grow our business. When we left Keller Williams, where we were prior, We were the top team in our market center, but we were kind of stuck in the same production for a couple years, kind of bounced around a couple million as a team. And when we moved to EXP, we quickly had the benefit of revenue share, and we started receiving a little bit of revenue share in the first couple months. And we saw this as money we never had before, and we made a decision to start investing some of that money back into our business and take some bigger risks that we might not have taken before, because this is money we never had before. And I say that because if you're receiving any money in revenue share, even if it's $200 a month, that's money you never had before. And if you were to take maybe 100 of that 200, invest it back into your business, I promise you, your business is going to get better than it was without that money. So I think that's one of the major benefits of EXP on whatever level you're at, and that it just gives us the ability to grow with money we never had before. A peek behind the curtain.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not sitting where you are. So a peek behind the curtain, basically, we just want to offer you an opportunity to kind of see what we do behind the scenes, see what it really looks like to work together with the relationships and exposure. So it's all about people. This slide is all energy. These kids are all excited. And that's kind of when we do an event or the community, we want to bring as much excitement, energy, and fun to that as possible. Whatever energy you put out into the world, that's what the energy that's going to come right back at you. So if it's negative, you're going to get negative. If it's positive, you're going to have more synergy together and win together. And so we try to create that with our community, who we love and give back to. We want to be a resource to people. So whether it's connecting people together, like say that one business needs another business, so we're constantly looking for opportunity to connect people to other people. So be the connection in your community, be the person, the resource, the person that goes, oh, I need this, I'm going to call Shelley, she'll know the answer. Or I'll call Sarah, she knows the answer. So basically just be that resource to people in the community. And how you do that basically is like, how do you let people know that you're the resource? Well, then you use exposure. So with Craig, it's like, okay, you can even show how you're connecting people together and creating wins on social media. You can also just share their business and help other people know about their business on social media. So why do people refer? They like you. So basically your relationship is how people feel about you when you're in the room. People don't remember, I can't remember the quote, but there's a quote about that, and I should know it, but I don't. But basically, people remember how you make them feel. So if you walk in the room and you make someone feel uncomfortable, or like it's all about you, or it's you want to make them memorable. You want to be memorable to people. So if you can come up with ways to be memorable, then they'll refer you. And if you solve their problems, they'll remember you. Be a knowledge, be a great experience, be a problem solver, be confident and positivity. If you walk in a room and your shoulders are down and you have negativity coming off of you, you're not going to get that referral. You don't have to know everything. You just have to be positive and be confident, because confidence doesn't mean that you know everything. It just means that you're confident about what you can do and how you can find the solution to a problem. Passion and a plan. So I have a lot of passion and I need a plan. So whenever I have passion about something, I start thinking about how I can, and Craig and I do this together, how we can build something around that passion or that thought. So basically, like, I love dogs a lot. Most people on our team do. And we do a ton of work with our charitable work with our local rescues. So one of the things that is on my list to do right now is I want to do a house dog. Well, I came up with the idea for a Jeep dog for a client of ours, because they do local Humane Society work. And I thought, how can we do that for LePage Johnson and give back to the community? So if you have a passion, whether it's a friend has cancer, or it's a dog rescue, or children's hospital, whatever it is, create a plan around it to support that group, and you're going to build relationships, and people are going to value you and what you love. I know Cindy just jumped on here, and she's very passionate about different things, and she's come up with ways to incorporate events around things she's passionate about, which is awesome. Create opportunities within that organization. Be thinking of how they're busy. They only have so much staff, And if you can come up with a way to maybe share their mission on social media for them, that's a great way to be a resource for them, because they need funds to be able to run their mission. And if you can come up with ways to create opportunity, not just giving money to people, a lot of times it's giving your talent or your passion to them to help. They need people to do things. They are usually nonprofit. And if you can do that, a lot of times you'll get business out of it. Sometimes you don't even know the business is going to come out of it, but it just does. Consistency. Create your own way to get the message out. So this is a slide right here of Craig and I, where when COVID hit, there's a lot of small businesses that were struggling in our local market. And Craig and I were like, what can we do to help these small businesses? So we came up with a plan to do that. And we created a little show. We started interviewing people, how we could support them, whether it's pick up food at their restaurant. One of the restaurants we knew of was actually selling, instead of selling cooked food, they were selling raw meat because we couldn't get it at the grocery store. So just getting the message out to the community is a great way to help others. This is a good example. It shows you that we did a Zoom interview with the watch party. So you want to make sure you maximize your exposure. It was 11 Lakes Brewery and Harvey's. You want to maximize your exposure for them. So you want to do a watch party when you do it. We did basically on a Saturday that we'd have we called it a beer party, and they would go pick up food from Harvey's, and the Harvey's had family pack food, and then they would go pick up a growler at 11 Lakes Brewery, and we posted it all over social media. It was in our stories, it was on our Facebook pages, our team was posting it, and it really helped those businesses. And we also posted did Zoom interviews with them, things like that. It was really fun, and I think they really appreciated it, and that's going to create a deeper relationship, because we really didn't have that deeper relationship with either of these business owners prior to that.
Something I'll add, Shelley, you mentioned this many times when we've done this class. When we started doing the interview, especially with 11 Lakes, there was, they were down. They did not really know what they were going to do. They were kind of scared, how we're not open, we have no ideas. By the end of that interview, they were excited, they were laughing, they were all in. And that was a great feeling, because that made it, clear that we're making a difference. And they kind of clicked, and then they said, hey, well, let's get this other business involved, and then we talked about maybe doing an event behind it, which you'll see in a second, and Shelley will go through. But this doesn't have to be a COVID thing. This could be just helping others, and when you give to others, you get stuff in return. I mean, it just happens.
You're right. It was so cool, because I remember getting into that interview, and I remember that they were so depressed, and I thought to myself, oh, this is really going to be a hard interview. How do I interview these folks and help them with where they are mentally? And you're right, Craig came up with the idea of the party, of the beer band and barbecue, and it did. It was you could feel that their energy level was just changing and shifting. And I think people sometimes need a redirection of their mind, and it's amazing when you do one thing, how something else comes out of it. Yesterday I was with Craig, and I was making all my hard phone calls yesterday. I called all my hard phone calls. I'm gotta go make this hard phone call. And it's funny, once I did it, I feel better after. I'm okay, I did it, it's done. And but it's the same thing. It's you just put energy to something, and it changes the outcome for somebody or yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you're giving energy to the other people in what their needs are, and then the ideas start to flow, and everybody said, oh, we could do this, and then we could have this musician come on, we know them, and then everybody uses their connections and their audience that they have on social media and personally and text, and we created this massive audience out of basically 3 brands: a musician, a restaurant, 4 brands, a musician, a restaurant, a brewery, and a real estate company. And we had over 5,000 views that night.
Yep.
on concert, which you see it in the picture there.
It was fun. I mean, it was actually surprisingly, I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, but it was fun. So these are some of the ways we promote an event. We'll do a save the date. So we don't just promote the event by itself. So a lot of times An event is a stagnant thing, meaning it's a day and it's over. There's not a before, a middle, and an end. I think that Craig really brings a ton of value to this with helping make sure that we're giving the event the full deserved energy that goes into it. Because the problem with sometimes with events is you do the event, you put all this energy into it, but nobody knows about it but the people that came. So we do a big save the date post. There's some more examples of this further down in the slide presentation. We create an Eventbrite. We promote the event prior to. We do live content on location, pre-event, like prepping for it, setting up for it, creating the excitement for it. We do interviews of people while we're at the event, promote others where possible, like if there's a caterer that's doing it for us, or a person that's doing painting or anything like that. We basically create a whole plan for that event, and it starts sometimes 6 months out, and we'll show you an example of that later. But long form video, if the event, like, so if we have a videographer there and they're doing a long form video, and then we cut it into short minute long videos. So different types of snippet videos with key points, quotes and graphics from the speaker, if there's a speaker there, like something they said that was clever, thank you cards after the event, sending out pictures of them at the clients that are at the event, so like them and their family. Everyone loves to see their friends and family, especially when you take the time to recognize their friends and family. Do a highlight video like Craig said there at the end, and then post the event as it's happening, of course. So there's kind of like a platform of how we do everything. Another thing that we did, this wasn't as successful as I was hoping it would be. Like, we all do vision boards as adults, but kids, I don't see kids doing vision boards very often. And I think sometimes kids are so expressive and they're so free-spirited, and they do a lot of arts and crafts and things, but I don't think someone ever really takes the time and say, look, what's your vision? Like, what do you want to, people ask, what do you want to do when you grow up? But it was really interesting. Some of the kids that did this with our team, their boards were awesome. I mean, one family, their daughters want to go to Africa because they adopted a little boy from Africa, and it was really heartwarming to see how these kids brought to life their vision, what their goals were. So we started out with basically being timely, come up with a contest to engage kids, because parents were tired. I mean, being home with their kids are like, I think it's important to get the kids involved. So we did video stories, we did email, we emailed in our newsletter, we texted people and said, hey, you should do this, or would you be willing to have your kids do this? I would love to see Joey's vision board.
One thing I'll say about this, you mentioned it wasn't as successful as you wanted it to be, but what I will say, that the slide a couple before this that showed the before, during, and after, what you can do for an event, this particular, vision board contest, that came into play quite a bit, as far as like, there was a lot of lead up, there was a lot of marketing, there was a lot of interaction, and then there was some post contest, like the winners and things like that. But right. It did get a massive amount of exposure, and a lot of people saw it. That was a great example of before, during, and after. It still got a lot of exposure, so I would say it was a great success.
Yeah, and that's you're making a good point, because sometimes we do things and we don't get the likes, or we don't get the shares, but there's eyes on it, and they're like, wow, that's cool. I mean, how many people probably thought, I'd like to do that, but I don't have time, I'm trying to teach, and I'm not a parent, so I don't know how these parents did this during COVID with teaching their kids at home. They're like, I don't want another project to do with my kids, maybe, I don't know, but they probably thought it was cool, and like you said, we got a good exposure, and the kids who did do it did an awesome job, and it was really fun to see their visions. So it says event. This is the event slide. Basically, this just shows you some of the things we've done. It's so fun to actually create this presentation, because we do so much stuff and we forget all the great things we do as a team. And our team really pitches in together and helps, and it really is a team effort, and without everybody on our team, we couldn't do it. It's just it wouldn't be fun without all of them. But we do like a painting, base painter comes. We did a pumpkin carving contest, and they just came and picked up their pumpkins and then took them home and carved them, and we did a contest. That was fun. We're just showing you a little bit of some of the stuff we do. We do a summer blast off party, and that's what you see with the face painter and the little boy with the really cute face. And our team brings their children too, which is really nice to have as part of the event, to see everyone's families and get to know them better. So just a fun way to get out there. Craig, do you want to do the formula?
Yeah, we're talking about relationships and exposure, and if you think about it, you start out, and you might go to an event or you meet someone somewhere, and you develop a relationship for a certain amount of time, or you're separated. It's challenging to keep that relationship going. You reach out and them a text, or you give them a call, or you see them at another event. And it's a little bit challenging, so you're not always front of mind. And that's where this really worked for us. Shelley was great and still is the master at creating those relationships and bringing us all together. But we also need to stay in front of all of these people. And that goes for everybody. Like if you sell a house, this is the number one thing that agents do wrong. You sell them a house, you build a relationship over finding them a home, going through the whole closing process, and then you're like, hey, great, and then it's like you don't see them for 3-4 years because you move on to the next deal. And that's where exposure comes in. So if you can stay in front of them with exposure and marketing and, doing different events like we just showed you in different contests and, getting their kids involved and, holidays, and it's not just all about houses, you will stay front of mind. So that relationship bond remains very, very strong through exposure. And that's what we're talking about in this presentation. And that's why it's worked so well. That's why Shelley and I have really done well as a partnership, and we have great people around us to support our team and grow what we're trying to do. So I'm going to go into a little bit about different platforms and different types of ways to give exposure and stay in front of these people once you've developed those relationships. I like this particular slide. I created it because we often think of when we grew up, we had a newspaper, there was a business journal, and then there was like real-time information like the news. There were magazines which were colorful, and we had radio, and then we had television. Those were our forms of media and the medium platforms that we often dealt with. Well, it's shifting more and more, and you're seeing it more and more over the last couple of years. More and more people are getting rid of TV because they watch more YouTube and they watch more Netflix and Amazon Prime than they do actual TV networks, because everything's on demand. So if you look at the different platforms that are out there, as far as like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, podcasts, YouTube, it goes on and on. Facebook is kind of like a little bit of everything. There's funny stuff on there. There's news stuff on there. There's video on there. There's long form, short form. So that's more like a newspaper. It's a little bit of everything. There's happy stuff, sad stuff, business stuff, serious stuff, funny stuff. So I look at Facebook as like the jack of all trades. It's kind of a little bit of everything like a newspaper used to be. LinkedIn is more B2B. It's business to business. So if you were to post something about business, people on that platform expect business news and information. So that's more like a business journal. Twitter is more like a real-time, hey, newsflash, breaking news, this is what's going on right now. So that's what Twitter is. It's more of real-time news and information. Instagram is very, very visual. It's mostly still pictures and colors and good photography or a message or a quote, and that's more like a magazine. And a podcast is voice. So that's your radio. That's information via sound and voice. So that's very similar to talk radio. And then of course YouTube is very visual and it's video. So that's basically your television. So my point in this slide, if I went back and took you back in a time machine 15 years ago as a realtor, and I said, hey, listen, I'm going to give you your own newspaper, your own business journal, your own magazine, your own radio talk show, and your own television station. Do you think you'd be able to succeed in real estate as a business? I'm going to give you them all for free. You would say I'd crush it. But that's what we have today. So you need to see these platforms as your own newspaper, your own magazine, your own talk radio show if you want it, your own TV show if you want it. It's all there for the taking. You just need to do it. So I'm going to show you basically some different ways to break down content. And a lot of people get frozen when you say, hey, just go on the different platforms and start posting. They don't know what to post. So I'm going to show you several things and different ways that you can post. Some other forms of media that we use are obviously email, newsletters, texting, voice text, video, virtual reality, augmented reality, like EXP World is augmented reality. And then good old phone calls are very important. And then the reason I put these simple things on there is because as time changes and everybody goes and does things a certain way, sometimes if you go back to the old way, for instance, writing a handwritten letter, there was a time when mail was like, I hate mail. All it is junk. I don't even look at my mail. But now if someone gets a handwritten letter, it's very special. Whereas like 10 years ago, it was just like, I don't even look at my mail. Okay, so getting started, these are the basics. You want to choose your audience. Who are you trying to get your message to? What platform fits that audience? And then post content relevant to that audience or platform. So you're not going to start, posting funny jokes and things on LinkedIn, because that's not the audience that you're trying to get. That audience is wanting information, business related, and they want it straight to the point. So, be aware of the audience and the platform that you're posting on. Be consistent. Very, very important. You should post at least 3 times per day on whatever platforms you're choosing to use. And when I say whatever platforms you're using to choose, that you're choosing, try not to do everything, because you're spread too thin. If you're unable to do all of it and you're just doing all of it sort of good, you're not going to succeed. So pick the platforms that you're comfortable with and post on those platforms and be consistent. Schedule posts whenever it's possible for leverage. So if you can go on the Facebook Pages app, there's an app called Facebook Pages if you're on Facebook, and you can schedule posts in the future, so you don't have to post them all at one time or during that day. There's also several platforms that will schedule posts. Okay. Time is your most... Yes.
One thing I was just going to share with everybody is I love that first slide, and it may seem overwhelming to some, and even Craig and I struggle getting everything everywhere. It's a balancing act, so you don't have to eat the whole elephant. That's all I was going to say. Just focus on what you like, right?
100%. Some people think like, in order to succeed, I need to do what they're doing, and they're doing everything, so I need to do everything. Lauren Rocco is a great example. She uses Instagram a lot, and she uses Instagram stories. So within Instagram, she posts on Instagram, but she does a fantastic job at Instagram stories, and she is known for that, and people look for her content, and she has a lot of eyes on her because that's her focus. That's where she puts a lot of her energy, and she likes that platform, and it gets her business. So she's not on 10 different platforms doing 10 different things. She's on that thing using that tool within that platform, and that's a great example. These are just some other ways you can leverage yourself. So if you're at the point where you want to expand your business, but you are only one person and you have only so much time, you can leverage yourself with some of these other things here. Scheduling platforms. These are some of the platforms we use later. Some people use Buffer, or Hootsuite is a real popular one. A lot of them are free to start. You can use maybe 1 or 2 accounts and schedule maybe up to 15 or 30 posts a month for free. So it's a good way to start. That's a good way to do it. These are some different types of posts, which I'm going to go over right now. So this is kind of the agenda of the next 19 things I'm going to show you. So let's start out. Make it simple. Tweets and texts, text posts. You'll see all different things. You can do a notepad type of post, which is on the right hand side. That might look sloppy to you, but if you saw that posted, it looks different. So people are going to look at it like, what does that say? Like, it looks like a 2-year-old wrote market update, but people look at it, so it's different. The middle one is a little more of, it's the same post, but it's a little bit more professional looking. And I go back to what platform that is on. That middle post there that says update is on LinkedIn. So it's very formal, it's very business-like, it's very matter of fact. And on the far left, it's just a tweet. It's a quick information with some hashtags. So that's 3 different ways you can do a simple post like that. I mean, they're not very exciting, but sometimes being simple and quick, putting stuff out there, is great. Memes are great because it kind of deals mostly with something that's fun, or a certain, it's relative to time or relative to an event that might have just happened. And it's a good way to break up your content. If you're always posting serious stuff or lists or just market reports, that gets very boring to people. But if you can post a meme with a face of a funny dog or something that's from a movie, a lot of people will engage with that, and that gets your audience to stay engaged with what you're doing. So you want to have a little bit of variety, and memes are a great way to do it. Still images are probably one of the most basic ways you can post. Whether it's the one in the middle is Labor Day weekend, so it just kind of creates a fun look of what's coming up, gets people excited about what's coming up. The one on the far left is a great still image to post, and it's documentation of what is going on. So that picture of Shelley and 2 other agents at one of the EXP events is a great way of showing what happened, what people might have missed, and they want to be involved in the next one. It's got a good description of what happened, and she also tagged these 2 ladies in the post, which got this post involved and kind of mixed in with their audience. So it mixed audience and got more reach. So it's very important to document what's going on. People are interested to what's going on in your life, in your business, in events. And then on the far right, I like posting stuff like, oh, that was a cool sign, that's a cool saying. So I just posted that as well. But you got to also be aware of what platform you're posting it on, like I said earlier. So know your audience and where to post it. One of the things that I always like to do is you got to be different. If you post the same thing that everybody else posts, you're really not going to stand out. So think different. Think of different views. Think of even using a filter every once in a while. Like you'll see in the upper right, that picture of the dock, that's a listing we had in Lake Wylie. And it's just a symmetrical picture of a dock, but it's done in HDR. It's got a little bit of a glow to it. It's different. It's eye-catching. The one under that is a drone picture. It's not a normal view that you're going to see. On the far left, it's a video with a filter. That's just going to catch people's eyes and make it different, and people are going to stop on your post when they're thumbing through a timeline. So some of the things on the bottom, you say how to be different. Use filters, angles of images, still images, video, drone. Use boomerangs, time lapses, which I'll show you a little bit in the end as well. Slide decks. There's so many different ways to post pictures. You can post them as an album. So in Facebook or LinkedIn, you can create an album. So you just click on a number of pictures. You can actually put a description behind it, and it creates almost like a photo album. And in the middle one is slide decks in Instagram. If you choose several different pictures in Instagram, you can slide left to right and show different pictures in a post. Or obviously you can do like a collage. And there's lots of different apps for that as well. But you always want to be different in your looks and mix it up, and that's why I'm posting all of these. Live stream videos, Shelley, do you want to talk a little bit about that? I don't know if she's.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you want to talk about live streaming some different things that we've done?
Sure. We've done a lot of stuff for neighborhoods. So if we have something, whether it's our neighborhood or other neighborhoods that are established, we do updates on neighborhoods, what's happening in them. The middle one is just something I was doing for the real estate community, and just sharing an update when COVID was going on for the essential, non-essential. And then to the right, it's basically a Zoom, which a lot of you've seen live on Facebook, and it's not very difficult to do at all. So it's a great way to connect with people in different parts of the world and kind of share perspective or just information that's important to others. So there's great ways to do live stream video. And what's really important about live stream is it gets a lot of eyes on it because it's organic, and social media loves organic. So when you go live, you're basically putting yourself out there unedited, and you can make a mistake, and social media loves that because it's real. So it's a really great way to basically get more faces and people maybe that normally wouldn't see you, because social media, a lot of times you see the same people over and over, and live actually pushes you into other audiences that may not normally see you. So it's a great thing to do, maybe a little bit uncomfortable, but get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's where you grow.
Yep. And, Shelley hit it right on the head with the algorithms of the different platforms. These platforms love live. So it gives you what's called reach. So when you go live, you get the largest reach that any platform is going to give you, which means it exposes you to more people than any other type of post. So when you go live, it is going to show your live stream to more people than a regular video or a still image or text or anything like that. So you're going to get much more reach. That's one thing. The next thing is video allows people to learn who you are and your personality. And like Shelley said, we all have imperfections. We all screw up. We all stutter. We all mess up. But that is real, and people relate to real. So you're going to build your audience that way, and people are going to learn who you are and like you more doing that. It also, live is very important because when people scroll through their news feed and you keep showing up as a live, even if they're not listening to what you're saying, they're relating you to your expertise. They're like, oh, there's that Shelley girl again. She's a realtor. I know she's a realtor. She's always on there. She must be an expert. So it really connects you to your craft and what you're good at. So it keeps you front of mind. So that goes back to exposure. She is creating exposure. I'm creating exposure. The people that are doing video are constantly popping up in the news feed of these people because we get more reach. You're getting a lot of exposure. Video is very, very strong as far as reach also, but not quite as good as live. And when I say video, that is just recorded video. So you have all different types of video. You have long form video, which might be YouTube. So right now, if we're recording this class, this would be more of a long form video that would be on something like YouTube. If it's a live click, that's the short. You can take snippets out of a long form video. So if we were talking about a particular neighborhood and it was a 5-minute video on that, we might pull out 25 seconds of that video and make it into its own clip, and those are called snippets or micro video. Those are great for things like YouTube and Instagram, or even stories on Facebook or Instagram stories. So repurpose your information. Make your long form video a long form, and then make 5 snippets out of it. Take a still picture out of it, and put some graphics over it, like you see in the upper right hand corner here. That would be just a picture. Got lots. It's like that video is about lots that we have available at Hidden Meadows, but we made it into a graphic. We made it into a long form video. We made it into a 5-second snippet video, and we repurposed it on all the different types of platforms. So be creative with what you have. And if you don't know how to do something, Google it or YouTube it, and you'll be able to find out how to make a long form video and edit into a small video. It's super easy on your phone. You just got to follow directions. Checking in at locations. This is really important also. You got to put the more content that you can put into your posts by checking in. So for instance, on the far left, that particular post is for a listing that we have in Verdict Ridge. It's a golf course community here at Lake Norman. And so when I checked in and put that was where the location of this listing was, anybody that follows that particular community has a better chance of seeing this particular post, because I basically crossed over interests with the people that have the interest in that particular golf course and community. So there's a good chance that is going to show up in their newsfeed, because the platforms know that particular person is also interested in that neighborhood. So it says, hey, you might be interested in this post because this is also from the same neighborhood. So putting your location in text or in the content that you're posting is very important. If you're at a meeting, which you see in the middle slide, that's one of our builders. They're having a meeting, and that basically shows the public and realtors and other people that they're hard at work. They're selling houses. They're a great builder. So when someone is looking for a good builder, if Lisa is always posting she's at Foundation Homes in Mooresville and we're selling homes, that's going to be front of mind for that particular buyer of a new home or another realtor. So that is marketing in its own, just by checking in. So it identifies. And then some people search by location as well. So you always want to check in on those certain areas. And I call that social juice. The more content and information that you could put in a post, it's going to get better reach, and the platform is going to be able to identify your post better and place it in front of more people. So information is king. Take the time to put descriptions in there, hashtags, locations, all of that is very important. Next thing is quotes. Quotes are really cool. It's a good way to break up your content. We like to do a lot of simple quotes because it just kind of identifies who we are and what we're about, and we can put some cool graphics behind it, and it's just another way to break up your content and put it out there. It's okay to repurpose content too, like 1% idea, 99% execution, which you see on the far right. That's not our post, but we repurposed it. It's not our picture, but that kind of identifies what we're about. We like executing, not just talking. So it kind of tells our audience kind of who we are. Stories are a great way to get your word out there, because story is also documentation in a lot of ways. It shows what's going on in your world, what you're doing in your business, your personal life, maybe things that you represent, news flashes. You can do a lot of different things with stories to give a very quick and fast overview to people and remind people what's going on in your life. We've all clicked through stories, and you just click, and you see like the 5 or 6 different things that they posted that day, and you go through like 10 people's stories in 20 seconds. But it's good. It's repetition. It keeps your brand and your exposure in front of that person. So I'm a big fan of stories, and these are just different ways that you can post, and different things you can post about, whether it's a listing or we just started breaking ground on a new build, news that happened. That's when EXP's Verbella was on the front page of the Boston Globe. I put that in our story because other agents, thought EXP was just this little company, and they're on the front page of the Boston Globe. That's a pretty big deal. Remind people that you deal with international lifestyle pictures, like Birkdale Village. Those are different things that I repurpose, and our team repurposes in our stories. So you don't have to recreate the wheel every day with your stories. Save some of these and repost them for later on. Documentation is one of the most interesting things that you can post about. So post about what's going on in your particular day, or a project that you're working on. We've, vlogs, which is like a video blog, basically just shows a day in a life of what you're doing. It's really interesting to people. They're like, all right, well, I'm interested in maybe buying a new home. That's a great neighborhood. I'm going to see where that is. Or like Shelley posted all the different things. We had like a team meeting. We had an interview with one of the co-presidents of EXP. And then we were involved in a meeting in EXP World, and it just shows that we're working, and our business is growing, and it's operating on all cylinders. It shows confidence to the consumer, and so documentation is a really great way of showing what's going on. Testimonials and bios, it's a great way. Every time you get a testimonial, jazz it up a little bit, put it in a post, and let people know that people love what you're doing. You bring a new person onto your team or in your business or into your EXP organization. Try and get a template together, put a little bio together, and create it and throw it out there as content. Showcase, other people. Other forms of posts you guys have seen, like Timelapses, which is there's apps for that, which is the high-speed kind of motion videos. That's really a different look. So a lot of people like watching hyperlapses of like the sun go down or come up behind one of your listings. That will get people to stop on your listing because it's different. Polls are great or surveys, because it gets people to interact. And that's one of the things I didn't talk about yet, is interact in your post. So when someone comments on your post, comment back, reply. That is what I call social juice, and that increases the reach of your post. If there is interaction and people are actually being social on social media, it actually gives that post more juice, and the platform will show it to more people. So it's very important to interact. Don't just like or say nice or great. If you're replying to someone else's or commenting on someone else's post, give some insight, give some content. Be like, oh, I really like the way you did this. This is some great information. Looking forward to more. That's great. So then that person responds and someone else gives their opinion. That's very important. So be aware of what people are saying on your post and respond to them. Boomerangs are another great, unique way to post something different than people are used to seeing as well. So who's seeing your post? This is a little bit of what I'm almost done. This is a little bit what I was just talking about. So the power of a post, we talked about live videos having a lot of power and a lot of reach, recorded videos, images, and then if you just posted text alone, then that might get you the least amount of reach. But social juice is all these things I talked about. Being very descriptive in your post, putting hashtags. Once you get a like or a share or a comment, that gives you more reach and juice for your post. It starts to show it to more people. When you reply to comments, it feeds the algorithm and gets you more exposure as well. So tag other people and tag other businesses in your descriptions, in your comments. Shelley mentioned watch parties earlier. So if you're doing something like a live video, hit watch party, and that sends an alert to all your people in your organization or your friends that have interacted with you lately, and says, Shelley's live right now. Click on. That's called a watch party. So, and you could even invite people to that watch party. So it's going to get you more, and the more people that come on and start to watch your video, it pushes it out further to other people that are not yet watching. So that's called social juice, and all of that stuff is very important. Yes, Shelley.
If you want to help your friends in the business or your coworkers or people in your organization, like and comment on their watch party and help them get the exposure that they are trying to get, so we can all help each other. That's why I like so much stuff and comment. I try to do as much, and Craig does too. I know we all do, because we know it helps them get their exposure.
Yeah, it goes for everything. Watch parties get massive reach if you get some good momentum going. And all other posts, even if they're like still photo posts or videos, comment, give a good comment, reply on someone, give your thoughts on someone else's comment. Just feed it juice and help each other. Strength in numbers. So that is all. I know it was a lot of content. It went kind of fast. I hope that was really helpful to people. And if anybody has any final questions, we can answer those. If not, thank you for coming.